Good evening, everybody. Welcome into the show. Bum, bum, bum. Good evening, good evening, good evening, everybody. My name is UltimatDJz. This is Talking Trek. And tonight, our review episode of Starfleet Academy, Episode 4. Man, did that give you the feels? Did that give you the vibes? Was this Trek enough? We're going to talk about it all tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you guys all being here. Good evening. Welcome. How are you doing, everybody? Appreciate it. Hiya. What's up? Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoilers. We're going to be talking about Starfleet Academy, Episode 4, Vox in Excelso, here tonight. Seeing the return of the Doctor in a significant role here tonight, and some really significant backstory into Jaden. Saw some interesting character development from Raimi and Caleb tonight as well. So we're going to be talking about all of those things. Lots and lots of cool stuff. So let's kick it off with a Starfleet Academy server sound off. Where are you guys hailing from here tonight? And let us know. Appreciate that. Where are you guys hailing from all across the world? It could be on a server 30. It could be on the APAC region. It could be from deep in the space cold reaches of the dead of winter, like where Bubba Joe is coming from. Dr. Iron Chef, Aloha, Server 14, Bearbot on 24, Vic on 33. What's going on? Matt Hatter on 95, as well as Tony. Retrieving is still retrieving. Can't figure it out yet. Drastic League on 9, J-Babes 13, Your Way 30, Zach on 84, Ben to the Robot on 51. Bob the Terran from New Hampshire, server 42. Cha-Cha Roar 156. Wham says, I'm 2 miles away and closing. You creepy, creepy guy. And Vanadia from a 45-degree Florida. Good evening to you. What's going on? Fun Daddy on 701, Martok 137, Spacewalker European 116. Keith, New Zealand, and server 201. What's going on? Appreciate you guys all being here. Welcome. Welcome. Grouchy Outlaw says, if anybody recognized it, the voice of the orb was Stephen Colbert. Yes, he is the Digital Dean. He's been in every one of these episodes here so far as the voice of the Digital Dean. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Omega J coming to us from Pittsburgh, where it is -3. Brr, it is cold. It is cold out here. We're sitting at, I know the other night I told you it was like 8. Right now, I am sitting at, oh, look at that. It's actually 19. Heat train. Heat train, hype train, heat wave, can't tell. Good evening, everybody. Appreciate you. My name is UltimatDJz. Joining us on our wonderful panel of experts here tonight, we have the lovely and beautiful Beck Likes Plants and, well, the other guy. That would be Bubba Joe. Good evening, guys. How are you? Welcome.
That's accurate.
The other guy.
The other guy. Good evening, everybody. Appreciate you guys all being here. Griffin, hopefully, will be joining us shortly, but he had something come up, so we're going to try to get him on the stage here in just a little bit ago. Guffa says, heck yeah, just finished the episode. Let's talk about it. This was very, very interesting episode. Not a lot of flash, not a lot of bang. But there was an interesting little space battle there for just a second, and there was a random chamomile that popped in, and everything was very, very interesting. Sugar Red says, Episode 3 has been my favorite so far. Let me tell you, I think this might be it for me, Bubba Joe. This might be the one so far that really gave me real Trek vibes. I mean, this was Star Trek. And, you know, it's interesting because all the reviews are continuing. All the YouTube bombs are still coming out. But this tonight, this was very Trek, I feel. Bubba?
No, I've liked all the episodes. This very much felt like a Star Trek episode, though. This was absolutely the most Trek-feeling episode, maybe since the first episode of the pilot. So yeah, no, I loved everything about this episode. I felt it was a little predictable, if I'm being honest.
Really?
But,
see, you and I were chatting about that during the watch through, and I want to circle on this here in just a little bit. I didn't expect a space battle. I just didn't. I like the way that resolved. I'm interested to hear how you thought that would be the natural order of things.
Well, so I mean, they really hit hard on the fact that Klingons will not accept charity, right? They will
Uh-huh.
not accept a gift. To be Klingon is to fight and to battle and to earn your keep and to hunt your prey, and that is the perception of what Klingons need to be in this century. It has been a part of the Klingon culture, but it definitely feels like they have um, enhanced that over any other aspect of the Klingon culture. Like even over like honor, which was the primary thing when Worf was around. So I think that this definitely was very predictable to say, well, we can't give you the planet because you won't accept it. So let's fight over it. Like let's whether it was a ship battle or a ground battle or someone fighting to the death and it ends up being a hologram and they don't die. Like there was going to be a fight of some kind for them to earn this planet.
Well, I guess that would have seemed like the natural order there, Beck, but it was not. It was not obvious to me. To be perfectly honest with you, what I expected was not a happy outcome. I expected not a happy ending. I expected at least not a happy ending from the purpose of the Klingons finding a homeworld. I kind of expected that the Federation and Jaden would ultimately would tip that debate into allowing, as he said, Klingons to be Klingons. And for them to make their own way. I may have expected them to stumble upon something else, but not necessarily this quote unquote charity planet. But it was definitely a very interesting story, and I. Again, didn't expect it to happen exactly like it did. I'm glad that some of you guys saw that as feasible. It did surprise me a little bit. Beck, would you have seen a different style of outcome, or was this somewhat predictable to you as well?
I don't know if I've ever like explicitly said this. I think I've like hinted at it in the past. Klingons are like my least favorite in general. So this was a very interesting episode for me to watch. So part of me was like, they should stage some sort of fight or something, because you can tell, like, you can see the hunger in Obel's eyes. You can see he wants it, but you can see that like
I saw some
he
hunger.
just can't go against his. Yeah, you can see he can't go against his Klingon.
We're not
whip.
talking about that yet, DJ.
Oh, okay.
We'll get there.
Oh, I
Come
saw
on,
some hunger.
Come on.
Okay.
What is wrong with you? Come on. So, did I see it going that way? That was like my hope, but in almost every like Klingon episode I watch, it never goes the way that I want it to do. It's always like, Klingons will be Klingons, and
exactly.
so
that's
I
exactly
actually was
what I was
pretty
expecting.
pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, for sure. That was kind of exactly what I was expecting, was that the Klingons would not accept it. This was not going to be the Klingon homeworld, and it was going to be, a battle of, the charity and all this stuff like they were talking about. But ultimately, Klingons would have their way. They would not accept this planet, wouldn't have anything to do with it, and would just, I was expecting them to stumble upon something else along the way, or a Q to come in and just snap them over to another planet or something ridiculous. But this was at least a little bit of a surprise and happy ending to me. But I'll tell you, there was a lot of emotion along the way. Guffa writes in chat, I'll admit this episode got me to well up twice. First at the pride of the solution. And I'm telling you, Guffa, that surprised me as well. It was a cool solution, a little battle scene there, which could have probably been a little spicier. But it was a very developmental episode. We saw a lot about Jaden. We saw his background. We saw some really interesting things from Caleb Meir that now, at first I got mad at him, and then I kind of wondered if he did it on purpose, and we saw something really nice out of Raimi. So we're going to be talking about all those things here tonight. But as we begin, of course, I would love to welcome both of you guys to the panel. Appreciate you guys taking time again on your Thursday night to be here. Beck, starting with you, this episode had...
Are we sure it's Thursday? This week feels weird.
This week does feel real weird. I think that might have been what tripped Griffin up. I think he thinks it's Wednesday. Yeah.
So did Beck, did you suffer from snowpocalypse?
You know, LA is many things, but it is not cold.
No snow
no
in LA.
snow here. But I did get caught in traffic today. It's basically the same thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I had a lot of snow for a while, so
I can
don't envy you.
tell you that what I was dealing with was the exact opposite of traffic. As I was driving on the sheet of ice going to work, there were no cars on the road. Like I was the only one stupid enough to be driving in these conditions.
Should have just done what I did and not gone to work. That's what I did. I just didn't go. Yeah, so no, listen, interesting story here real quick. If you want to share before we get into the stuff, you weren't, you watched a few minutes behind us on Paramount Plus because you were a couple minutes late joining us. Obviously, you know, we really are going to have to rethink these time frames because West Coast time, it's 5 o'clock when we start the watch through. It was like getting off of work time, but you had an interesting day.
Yeah. I did say, hey, boss, gotta go at the end of the day. But no, I was, funnily enough, thank you guys for being like super like accommodating for the timeline today. In the future, I will try to be like watch the episodes earlier, but I was late for good reason. I would like to state my case. I actually got to go somewhere fun. That I've been wanting to visit for the past couple of years, and it just never really worked out. But today I got to go and visit the Star Trek archives. And for those who don't know, that is a location, and I will not share where it is, but it was definitely a trek, pun intended, away from where I reside. So there was some good travel time there and some good travel time back. But I got to go to the archives, and that's where they carry and hold a lot, not all, but a lot of some of the props and things that you see in the movies, the TV shows, and the outfits and things like that. And I got to see in person a lot of like the things from all the movies and series that I love. I tried to be I was there strictly for work. It wasn't meant to be a fun thing, but it definitely.
How dare work try and be fun?
I know, but I was nerding out on the inside, like because I got to see Dax in person. Like that's like insane to me. I saw Odo's bucket. Like,
that's awesome.
Like I got to see like all these awesome things, and so the nerd in me was just like, so. That is a big reason as to why I was late. So, I
that's right.
apologize. I'm
work.
also thankful.
It was for work. She had to go to the Star Trek archives.
I had to suffer and sacrifice my day. So.
Had to go hang out in nerddom, in Nerd Heaven, Nerd Heaven Museum there for a while.
Hey, I've graduated into Trek nerddom. Okay, I've been there now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, now you're co-hosting a podcast about a Trek show in real time. Like it's absolutely crazy. Let me come to you first with the first question tonight. Just as far as the episode as a whole, just to give our audience, and again, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it yet, turn it off, pause, go watch it. But our episode tonight was very diplomatic in nature. All right. It obviously had a little bit of a callback to the Beta Z episode back, but this was definitely, again, more learning the Federation rediscovering themselves through debate, through politics, through social interaction. And we saw this lesson start from the very beginning of the episode, just where they were, this was the Doctor's class, right? Throughout this episode, we saw a lot of character development. We saw some very interesting personnel interactions, which we're going to talk about. But I'd like to just kind of start with your standout moment. This had a lot of rises. As a matter of fact, I will agree with Guffa. I felt myself really becoming emotional at various points. This was a very powerful episode. Even in chat at one point, I said, get ready for like a monumental piece of content here. Like this was going to be a moment. What was that moment for you during this episode?
Yeah, this episode was such a good one for so many ways. Personally, just I grew up doing debate and forensics. I actually did very well in it, and so I like it near and dear to my heart there. And it was neat to see it still being a thing. It was neat to see that the Doctor was the one going through that with the kids because like he said, he literally used debate to fight for his existence. So love that. But I think for me, like the standout moment really was I saw a thread this week, and it came into this a little bit, but I saw like a random thread this week on the internet that said, we never hear anything about the Klingons who helped them get into space. We never see anything about the scientist or who really pioneered those efforts into technology, though, like where they are now. And so this was like a very unique space to see a Klingon that is in that space in a much different way. But I think like for me, just seeing Jaden and hearing more about who he is, why he is the way that he is, felt a lot more justified to me as a fan. And so I think like I don't know if there was any really like one moment that was like a hey, like this is a big stick out moment. Other than the fact of like it just feels like the story's rounding out more. It just felt more I don't know how to explain that, like even, if that makes sense. So maybe
Absolutely.
something will come to me. I took notes, I brought them with me. But
Fantastic. Yeah, you know, Jaden's arc during this episode did answer questions that we've had about him leading up through this season. We've wondered about his background. Why is he the pacifist like he is? Why is he the healer? Why is he the only Klingon in Starfleet Academy? And this kind of really put some focus on his struggles and how he ended up there. And how he felt different most of his life. You know, there was trauma, and so long we saw that flashback. It said 18 months. For 18 months, and probably much longer in his life, he felt really misunderstood by his parents, maybe even abandoned. At least for the last 18 months, he felt abandoned by his parents. So there's a lot of trauma there. There's cultural conflict and all this stuff. And, you know, this really set him apart as being in Starfleet Academy. And we finally get a little bit of an understanding as to why. Bubba, go ahead.
So, so you brought this up in the chat during the show. Yes, his parents abandoned them, but I don't think that's what hurts him. I think he thinks he just like the attack that Caleb made at him in the debate, and I'm sure we'll get to talk about that. He feels like he betrayed them. He feels that way. Yes, they left and they abandoned him and he was alone for a little while, but in his heart, before he had this reconciliation, he feels like a failure, like he is not a warrior, not a Klingon. And that comes out a lot in the episode. So, yes, Caleb used this personal attack against him, but he absolutely feels that way. It's not just abandonment, it's also, I'm not worthy.
Yeah.
Right. And that played up both in leading up into this episode and early on in this episode.
Oh, for sure. And you're absolutely right. You know, it's irresponsible to look at just one side of that. There might have been that feeling with his parents, but you're absolutely right. And you know, looking at from that perspective, he all throughout, even prior to that 18 months, his entire life, he said, you know, in the narration that only his brother saw him for who he was. And that leads to some of that misunderstanding. But then, you know, even going out after his brother's passing, going out for the hunt, and in which he obviously felt like he let his father down in a fit of rage. He missed his mark, and they left him on the planet. Which is, we're going to flash forward here now to Laura Thock's interaction with him, which, man, she just continues to amaze. She continues to impress me. World-class talent. Let me just say, for the actress herself, world-class talent to be able to act like that through such prosthetics and makeup and everything. She is just phenomenal. She brings such life to that character. But
I think she won me over this one. Yeah.
Oh, she's just absolutely fantastic, you know. And we saw a serious tone. We still saw some lighthearted moments from her when she was with the Chancellor, but her time with Jaden was extremely powerful, and I felt emotion there. I felt emotion in me hearing her empathize with Jaden, tell her story, and then just like that moment, and I don't know if this was a powerful moment for anybody else, but that moment of realizing what Jaden's father had actually done for Jaden, and that kind of moment of realization for Jaden that my parents finally accepted what I wanted to do. They accepted me for who I was and gave me an opportunity to do what I'm doing. I found that to be an incredibly provocative scene. Bubba, explore that a little bit for me between the mentor and her first ever Klingon mentee, if that's the right word. I think it's not.
Okay, so
not the right word. But yeah.
Mentee is correct.
Oh, good. Thanks.
Mentor, mentee, that is correct.
Oh, that was a guess.
You're on point. You can stand up right now.
Okay, good. Got it.
So I thought that was a really you are 100% spot on. Laura Thock has been probably one of the strongest characters. In fact, there's a friend of mine that I've worked with for many, many years. He's a game designer, and he does reviews of TV shows and stuff. And he started reviewing this show, and I had commented, and he agreed that this show is filled with such fantastic characters, not the least of which is Laura Thock. And the only problem is that the more we learn about some of these characters and the depth some of these characters have, whether it be Laura or Genesis or Karima, or that the further and further Caleb gets from being as good. And that's not fair, because it's a character that we like and we want to see succeed, and we want him to find his mom. And that is kind of the premise of the show, right? Is his redemption, hopefully, at some point. But he's almost the least interesting character on the show, because they've done such a good job of developing all these characters. They have such good young and adult actresses and actors that are playing these characters, and the stories that have been written for them. Yes, this was a fantastic moment between two of those non-Caleb people. But Laura Thock continues to steal every scene she is in. I really, more even than the Jaden comment, was her talking to Ake, and saying that that are you hungover? And Ake, without saying it, was like, no, I'm still drunk. Like, I'm still lit. This is not hungover. Hungover comes later. And so just that, that little check-in as, are you okay? And getting the answer that she really needed. But the mentor-mentee relationship is going to be interesting to see if it carries forward, or if this was just the gentle nudge that Jaden needed to get over the hump and be able to be confident in himself and have some self-worth and have some confidence to be able to really dive into what Starfleet Academy can do for him. So we'll see if that carries forward, or if this was really just the push he needed.
Beck,
I really liked that.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I was just going to add to that.
Coming right to you.
One piece to that, and Bubba talked about it during that conversation. I just really appreciate how it was written, that she said it's an honor and a privilege. Instead of just like coming at him and like just yelling, "You're a Klingon, yada, 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 pride." I really appreciated that it, you could feel that that to her, it was a great honor. So
we've seen, if you let me,
please.
DJ, sorry. We've seen her be the yell at you drill instructor time after time after time on the show, and seeing her switch gears to deliver what Jaden needed was a powerful representation that this person, this actress and this character can bring so much more than that typical drill instructor yell at the cadets, make them run laps, make them feel, like they need to be put in line. Having this range as an actress, writing this range as a character, was really, really powerful, in my opinion.
That brings up an interesting thought that I didn't have prepared, but I'd like to ask you guys about it. Obviously, as first officer, we're seeing, as you mentioned, a lot of depth to her character here. We saw the commanding officer towards the beginning of the season. Now we're seeing a little bit more of that friend relationship with the Chancellor / captain of the ship, between captain and number one, that kind of trust relationship and that friendly kind of relationship that develops over time of service. And you're also seeing what a very typical first officer would do. I mean, the first officer is responsible for personnel. I mean, you go back to TNG, that was Riker's thing. He's personnel. You look, not that it's, iconic Trek, but look at Lower Decks. Ransom was responsible for personnel. That's just what a first officer has always been outside of TOS, is that they were you look at Strange New Worlds. Una is responsible for personnel. That is the role of the first officer, and we're really seeing Laura Thock become that first officer that we kind of always expected that role to be. So let me ask this question of you guys. Compare Laura Thock to your favorite first officer in all of Trek, and how is she measuring up to the responsibilities and the personal character development of a number one? Bubba, you go first because you look the most uncomfortable.
Oh my God. She's not Riker. Like,
Why
she's
not?
just not.
Why
like,
not?
That's so she's not even trying to be the same character as Riker, right? And Riker like fits so many different shoes. And yes, he was in charge of personnel, and yes, he was in charge of defining the shifts and running the crew and on all of that. But Riker was doing something completely different. Like I can't say that it's better. I can't say that it's worse. Riker is going to have that place in my heart. I would say that she's probably second or third.
Wow.
Right. She
Still high
definitely
accolades.
has more range and a lot more going on than, say, Spock or Kira. Definitely more than Chakotay. Definitely more than the Vulcan and Enterprise, and I'm dropping her name right now.
T'Pol.
T'Pol?
So yeah, I think that she's probably, in terms of the number one role, I think that she could easily be second in my mind. I mean, I'm not saying she can't be better than Riker, but she is not in my mind, because Riker just did and represented different things. He represented the go-between and the lead and the organizer and the combatant, and we may see some of that from her still. Like, as much as she is a Klingon and Jem'Hadar, and she yells a lot, we haven't actually seen her fight yet. Right. So that's something, so I think that she has that in her, and we may see that eventually. Or we may not. Like, that might just be something that is implied in her Klingon Jem'Hadar mixture, that, obviously she can fight, and we just may never see it in the show. We will see all these other aspects to her character. But yeah, I think that she's definitely up there. She's already up there, even after just 4 episodes.
Very, very powerful character, and she is. I mean, she's been referred to by Ake as number one. That was introduced. She was introduced in the very first episode as number one, the first officer. Beck, how does Laura Thock shape up in the world of number ones for you?
I'm a really big fan of Una, and they're vastly different. Just characters, their approach, how they see things. Una, and I can see why, but Una approaches things, with empathy first, but has that strong conviction always. Like, she's got a very strong moral compass of what would align, I guess, with me. Thock is... Man, I don't know, like, where to put that, right? Thock is witty, is quick, is ready. And I think, like, those are really awesome things. Thock is less about thinking, how do I make them feel better and encourage them with words, and more about how do I strengthen them through experience. And I think that it's a much different approach. So it's hard to compare them. Would I put Thock above Una? No, not at least right now. We're only in a few episodes in, but comparatively speaking, they're both very strong, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Thock evolves even more, and we see more, and yeah. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Like I don't know in terms of definitely not like above Una for me. Yeah, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Well,
I think
So,
go ahead.
that's a really good point, Beck, to say that she leads through trying to strengthen the cadets through her own mechanism. It reminds me of Ransom, right?
Yes.
And Ransom acted like the bumbling idiot for all these years, but in reality, that was his method of
Yes.
motivating his cadets to get his ensigns to get all that he could out of them. And so she's like got that really good part of Ransom, and she's got the empathy of Una, and she's got communication skills. Like she has all of these things. And so if this continues and they continue writing her so very well, and she continues to act, the range of, you're right, DJ, the range of acting through these prosthetics is so difficult. The actors talk about this all the time, and that she's able to bring that to the screen is absolutely fantastic.
She does definitely display a lot of the characteristics of an educator, as a mentor, and still that first officer. Doug writes in chat, speaking as an ex NCO, now officer, that a person can be a harsh instructor, a confidant, and a competent number one, all depending on the situation. This character has been extremely well written, and I couldn't agree with you more. Every episode she continues to shine, regardless of how much screen time she has. She makes those seconds really, really count. Her interaction with Jaden tonight was absolutely phenomenal. Let's take a look at another interaction that Jaden had, which was on the debate stage the very first time. Okay, so on the debate stage, we had him going up against Caleb Meir. And it was surprising to Caleb in the beginning. I think Caleb felt like he was coming in, despite what he said. I feel like he felt like he was coming in to rescue Jaden. And Caleb really thought that Jaden should agree that the Klingons accept the Federation help. And Jaden very abruptly said, no, I'll be arguing the opposite. So getting them on stage together, and this was this was an intense scene, especially as they got towards the end of their argument. It started to become very personal, and even that very last line, and I'm going to come on this. I'm going to quote this last line that came from Caleb, which I have yet to decide if it was a jerk move or not. I mentioned in chat while we were watching through that this felt very much like a Fish Boy moment with Genesis in the first or second episode, where he just, Raimi took a pot shot at Genesis to distract her long enough for him to win captain, when we were playing laser tag, when we were competing for the captain of the laser tag team. And I felt like Caleb took that personal shot at Jaden this time. The quote was, you stabbed your family in the back by coming here. Bubba, break down that debate scene there and how this debate became personal and tensions rose. What was that line from Caleb? Was this a teenager having a hotshot attitude and running off at the mouth, or was this a calculated move for Caleb to mentor Jaden?
All right, so I want to back up for a second, right? Because I think that there's something that we haven't seen yet that again, we'll talk about once and then it'll go away and it'll be fine. Is this the first time we've seen Genesis fail on the show?
Well,
like, realistically, like, she got bumped out in the debate early on, and then she got bumped out again in the real debate. And like every other time, like even when she lost in the simulated battle last episode, like she eventually won. She eventually was like, all right, I'm the lead. We have to come up with the plans. We have to do this thing, right? She is always coming out on top, right? She's always trying to put out that she's the leader. She's gonna be the captain. She's gonna be the leader of the group. And this is the first time we saw her not succeed at something. I think that's significant, right? I hope this carries forward, that this is something that she's gonna be like, I've never not succeeded. I need to work on this. This is something I have to do. And so I'm hoping that this is something that continues forward, is that because she, as much as the episode was about Jaden, there were a number of moments in this episode, little bits for people like Genesis and Fish Boy and just these little itty and Sam, these little itty bitty tidbits that are being played upon that really are going to resonate through the show if they continue to drop these just little characteristic tidbits moving forward. Do you remember in the first episode where God, and I hate calling him Fish Boy.
Raimi, but Fish Boy works.
Or Darum.
Or Darum, thank you. Or Darum, where Darum is like, I would show you, but I don't want you to fall in love with me.
Yes.
Did that not totally come back into play in this episode?
How you feel? How do you figure?
In his episode, in his scene with Jaden, I bet that there is something about his race that makes people like just anytime you are in close proximity to them, you become enamored with them. Like that was a very thick emotional scene that, I mean, it looked like they were going to kiss, and there's nothing wrong with that, but they were definitely playing like they were coming together, and that was a moment that I felt was very it was very thick with tension, right? And I like that play back to the very first episode when he says that to Genesis, and it's like he's just being, he's just being alpha male, like whatever. No, this might be a legitimate thing that they play on, and I thought that was fantastic.
That's interesting that you bring that up. I don't think that I saw it that way. What I felt, I believe, and maybe I'm the naive one here, but I feel like what I saw here was, again, another moment where Darum is growing. And, we saw him open up to Genesis there in the laser tag episode when he, talked to her at the end about his parents, and then became a good supporter, became a member of the team, and supported his new captain. And then we saw this again today. We saw where he came, at the end of episode 1, he helped Caleb learn how to make his bed. I feel like we see nuggets from Fish Boy that show an occasional maturity and an occasional spot of wisdom or spot of potential that comes from this guy. And I feel like that's what I saw here was his potential as a leader, his potential as a friend, and not just, as a comic relief or as a jock, but his potential as a real core character of this show is that he came in and was able to be a friend and was able to offer some insight and able to actually have an impact on Jaden, with this breathing technique. And I don't know, I did not get the sense that was a romantic thing. I felt like that was an intimate thing. Like he wanted Jaden to be okay.
It did not have to be romantic to be intimate. I agree with you. It was an intimate moment between the two of them. And they were definitely playing that up, that side of it. So back to your original question. I just wanted to bring that up because I think that's something that could be missed. All of these small character moments.
That's fine. And before we do that, though, Beck has something to say. Look at the look on her face right now. Beck, why don't you weigh in on this? Because this was something I was going to bring up a little bit later. This breathing exercise between Darum and Jaden. I felt like that was emotionally powerful. Do you get the same kind of was that a friend? Was that a brother being a brother, or was that a romantic thing, do you think?
Oh, it was definitely intimate.
See?
I agree.
What I'm talking about.
I agree that it was intimate.
It felt, I don't know. I'm feeling a little bit of where Bubba's, fan theory thing is here. It does feel like maybe Darum's race has it is not like steered one direction or the other or whatnot, right? We're years in the future to where by now it really is normalized of all the different types of relationships, right? Infinite diversity and infinite combinations. Like that's standard now. So it isn't odd to see one thing or another thing. But that moment did feel tense. There was even a second of it where I felt like I was almost invading their privacy by watching. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. I felt like should I still should I leave and give them space?
Give them a minute. Yeah.
Are you old enough to be watching this part of the episode, Nick? We need to cover your eyes.
Okay, like cool. But no, so I did sorry. But I did feel like there was something. I am assuming that might not be the only time we feel something. I don't know. They're really doing a lot of character building and kind of breaking some rules around like what standard, I guess, tropes would be. So yeah, I did get the same feeling that Bubba did.
Okay. Well, then
I didn't
I'm on
feel
my
like
own.
this was just a simple, hey, bro thing. It definitely felt like I want to be here. I want to support you. And then it felt more like they were connecting over that, like having an intimate bonding over that.
So explain to me then Jaden's response. When Jaden kind of, he was in the zone, he was doing the chant, he was feeling better. Then he kind of backed off. Your thinking is, okay, this is not the kind of moment I'm here for. My interpretation of that was, okay, this is meditation. I'm a Klingon, not going to do this. Did I just miss this entire scene?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you did.
Okay.
Were there commercials for you, DJ? Did they last like 5 minutes instead of 3? Like,
yeah, I mean,
he went to go fill up his water or something.
Yeah, I guess so. Guffa says I'd maybe watch that again, DJs. Okay, I might have to. I've watched all the episodes a second time. It's been good to watch them again.
I think go ahead.
Are you Beck? Are you watching the episodes once or twice?
So far once.
Okay,
I've watched them all
DJ,
twice.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
I watch them live right before the show, and then over the weekend I watch them again. These are.
I'll start doing that.
There's so much to see. It's like I wish we'd have talked about that. That's a really cool moment. That's something I want to put in my brain and think about later. See, exactly. So, no, I think that's a like I'm of the same way. Like I'm liking this show so much that I stay up to watch it. Way past Jeopardy on Thursday nights. And then
I haven't watched it as Jeopardy. Don't tell me anything.
So, and then I go back and watch it on the weekend because I've liked these episodes so much. So sorry, I've completely derailed your debate discussion, DJ, but I felt that these small moments are worthy of larger discussion. And the problem is if we talk thoroughly about all these small moments, we will be here for hours.
That's absolutely true.
So then I won't mention in the beginning the very, very, very small moment where there was a Bajor Club Celestial Temple.
See, that was a small moment that I missed right there. There you go. But no, this actually was a piece that I wanted to discuss because I felt like, I think what we're seeing here, and I don't remember who said this last week. It might have been you, Bubba, that said, no, it was you, Beck, that these first several episodes are really getting us to get in touch with these characters, really connect, and really become attached to all these guys before something is
so that
going
one of them
to
can
happen.
die.
Yeah, something is going to happen. And so all of these interactions I feel are very, very important, especially these moments of power, which I feel like we got with Darum and Jaden tonight was just, that was a very kind of powerful little moment between the two of them that neither one of them are going to tell anybody else about. Right, that was a moment for those two, and so then fast forward then to the debate, and actually, you know what? I think you're right in the timeline of things. That actually happened before the first debate because when he got up, when his name was called, you saw Darum in the audience, put his fist together to give Jaden a little bit of confidence to go up and start that original debate, and it started a little soft. It started a little rocky.
Schmotnuity. Doesn't matter, DJ, which order it comes in.
Then Caleb pulls out this asshole move. In my opinion, I felt like this was very reminiscent of Darum, taking a pot shot at Genesis in one of the earlier episodes. Tell me about this, Bubba.
So, all right. So why is Jaden such a good debater? They hint at it, but why is he such a good debater in per the show? DJ or Beck?
Well, I don't know. You answer that question. I asked the question.
He is a debater because that's how he survived.
Yeah.
Right. He survived by talking every person who had him in cuffs out of those cuffs.
You said Jaden. Now, if you had said Caleb, I
no.
You
I'm sorry. I did say Jaden.
Yes.
How did Caleb survive? How did Caleb survive?
Had to be a smooth talker for sure.
Right. He was absolutely. He tries to be the smartest guy in the room. He's trying to talk his way out of everything so he can go from con to con, looking for his mom, getting out of trouble, getting out of sticky situations. He absolutely is going to be the best debater because he's had to do that to survive for these 18 years he's been on his own, right?
He's a master debater.
I loved that joke.
It's a timeless joke.
That was placed so perfectly in the show for a tenth of a second, and they let it fly by, and it was awesome.
It really
Genesis
was
shut
well
it down.
placed.
It was perfect. Okay. Sorry, Beck. Didn't mean to make you uncomfortable.
Can we clip that? Can we send that to the Paramount people? How about that line right there? They put it in their show.
You heard nothing. You heard nothing.
Excuse me.
All right. So
in his life, right? Nothing is off limits, right? If he's got blackmail on a cop, or if he's got something that he can use against a judge, or someone he's got to deal with, or someone he's trying to trade with to get information, he is going to use whatever in his arsenal to win these debates. So you can say it wasn't fair, right, that he used that. I'm going to say that's who he is. That's how he has existed his entire life. That is just him, right? And whether or not it is fair, that's how he has existed. That's how they are playing that he has existed his entire life, is using anything in his arsenal. And after having a conversation with Jaden, he knew that Jaden himself felt like he'd betrayed Klingons by accepting this position in the Federation Academy. So he already felt that about himself. And so this is something as second nature that Caleb goes, I've got the winning argument right here. I'm going to use it. I'm going to get off the stage and I'm going to be done. You can say it was dirty pool. I think was second nature. He may have regretted saying it after the fact, and that's fine. I agree that that's something that should not have been said. But just like the thing that should not have been said between Genesis and Fishboy, like this is people and characters and teenagers and young adults figuring out that actions have consequences, that words have consequences. And so this is just another example of that. Like this is Caleb's example of that. But his second nature was just to use whatever he could get his hands on to win a debate and be let go.
Beck, do you think that was just his semi-criminal or criminal background surfacing there, or was it intentional to push Jaden in a direction that he wanted him to feel power? Because that is the debate about this particular interaction, is whether or not we've seen enough growth and maturity out of Caleb. I mean, we've all talked over the last few episodes about how he has the makings to be a commanding officer. Was this a moment that he was bringing out something in one of his classmates, or did Caleb lose control here?
I don't think he lost control. I think in the first bit, when they start doing the semi-personal, I don't want to say attacks, but rebuttals, the initial ones really do feel like Caleb is doing more of a, all right, man, you said you wanted to do this. All right, we're going to do it. I know that this is going to strike you. How will you deal with this? Like, how are you going to rise to this? Because he knows how Jaden feels regarding being in front of people. So I think it's a way to pull him out, right? Like right before that, also, Jaden had mentioned it's hard to speak on something you're passionate about. And so I think he's trying to pull that out of him initially. I think it does, of course, like devolve into other things. But I think that initial piece, I think he's actually trying to encourage him by, I guess, not messing with him is not the right word. I can't think of the word that I want to use here. But intentionally triggering him is one way to say it. Someone else is going to have a better word there than me. But it doesn't feel like initially like a, hey, I'm reacting to being hurt, it feels like, hey, I'm going to try to encourage you in the way that I think is going to draw you out. When that doesn't work and it turns into emotional, then they kind of just go at each other. But
Well, and that very well could be. You know, that's actually been a lot. There's not a clear answer on this yet, and we may not get one. I don't know that this particular instance is going to be called back in a future episode, but already online there is some discussion as to whether or not this was a leader's moment or you know a teenage moment, Bubba. So it is a very, very interesting interaction there. Of course, by the time you got to the end of the episode, and even once before, when Jaden and Caleb had shared a meal, there felt to be very close friend vibes there, even to the point where Jaden, you know, said, "Hey, you're not my brother." You know, Caleb felt hurt by that statement early in the episode, but they shared a meal together. He gave him the backstory on the warrior stew that he wasn't allowed to eat and then was ultimately allowed to eat. So, you know, it's a very interesting interaction there. I want to fast forward.
But that moment, so if you let me,
yeah,
that moment plays back to last episode of Karima talking to Caleb and saying, you so desperately want to be a part of this, that have this be your family, and was like, this is again confirming that and showing that he is trying to make Jaden a part of his family and trying to help him as a friend or a family member or a brother would do. And like, again, it's all of these little things that they're putting into the show. It's like, this is a reference to episode 1, and this is a reference to episode 2, and this is a reference, and like they are building all of these things, these character moments, and it's so cohesive. I really hope this doesn't break up because they're doing such a good job.
Sure. I want to fast forward and change direction just a little bit, continuing with these interactions, but transitioning a little bit towards more of Federation interacting with the Klingons. First, we saw Ake and Obel, right? This was a very interesting development, I think, and the way that they wrote Obel into Ake's past was humorous and I thought funny. I thought it was well done. You saw this lover spark kind of reunite here a little bit after, you know, one night in Bangkok, you know, years and years ago. And but you saw two very different ideals. You saw the exact same position of Caleb versus Jaden in the debate. You saw the exact same position between Ake and Obel. The Federation wanting to do this, the Federation feeling like it needs to do this for the Klingon people, but the Klingon people saying, no, we're not going to take this. I'm curious, and this is a very meaty question, so we can feel free to spend a little time on this if we want or not. Where does the Federation draw the line between being the supreme power in the post-Burn universe now? Where do they draw the line between what they should do and what they can do, Bubba Joe? I mean, the Federation was
Well, that's a really odd.
It is.
It's a really odd question to ask.
Well, the question is framed around this. The Federation felt that it was the only thing to do to give the Klingons this planet. Ultimately, who got their way? It wasn't really the Klingons. I almost feel like this was trick play a little bit, all right? And we can discuss if that feels accurate or not. But the Federation pushed their way, maybe even manipulated their way into getting what they wanted. Was that the right thing to do? They might have.
When has that not happened in Star Trek?
Right, exactly. Are you new? Like, have you not been watching Star Trek before?
This is a post-Burn Federation. They're rebuilding. They're relearning. As a matter of fact, every episode up to this point has been about building trust. Yet, this particular episode, in my solo personal brain of thinking, I think they eroded all of that by manipulating the Klingons into taking the planet, which is what the Federation wanted all along. I feel like this was an erosion of trust. Tell me I'm wrong.
So you're wrong.
Okay. Tell me why.
So the Federation has always been about using whatever tool it could to achieve its goals. It's always been like that. The Federation has always done that. Now, they had rules and gates that tried to help protect themselves and other species, right? They had the Prime Directive that tried to protect them from technological overemphasis of technology for species that were not ready for it, to protect them from themselves. But they've watched planets die off, right? They've done that because of their ideals, and other planets they've manipulated their rules to be able to save them, right? Or they've taken individuals and tried to change their mind about something. We've seen that through TNG. We've seen that through Deep Space. We see that in every episode, right? Whether it's Voyager or Deep Space Nine or TNG, they've always been about manipulating a situation to their advantage. That's always been what the Federation has been about. The Federation has built itself to be the arbiter of what's best, right? Whether that be it's best for you Romulans to help us because you're not going to like the Dominion. It's best for the Klingons to work with the Federation because otherwise your homeworld's going to be destroyed. We saw that in Star Trek 6. Like, they have routinely manipulated situations. Like, Spock was manipulating Kirk the entire time in Star Trek 6, right? So the Federation has always been about manipulation. It does not mean that they are not also about an arbiter of truth or an arbiter of trust, because they want you to trust that what they decide and what they think is going to be good is actually going to be good, even if you can't see it right now. The Klingons needed a new planet to colonize and move into. They needed that. Everyone who could look from the outside knew this is the situation that they needed to resolve, but they were never going to do it without a push, right? They were never going to do it unless they could earn it, right? And so the Federation saw this is something that needed to happen, and they just needed a mechanism to try and let them do it their way, right? And I saw this coming, right? I saw the fight coming. We talked about that very briefly. But I think that they had to just figure out a way to make this appealing to them, whether it be the situation here. Let's talk about episode 3. It was like, what was the reason that the Betazoids decided to rejoin the Federation? Was it because of their honesty, or was it the fact that they're going to put the HQ on Betazoid? Right? They manipulated the situation to achieve the goal that was necessary to have the Betazoids and all of the worlds that align with them to rejoin the Federation. This is no different.
That's a very interesting analysis or comparison that you make, and one that I was prepared to ask Beck about, is their interaction here with the Klingons. Was that more, and maybe manipulative is not the right word, but was that more or less the same as what they did with the Beta Z president?
I view them differently. Not necessarily as it was more or less, just a different approach to achieve the result that they wanted by utilizing what was symbolic and what meant something to them, right? Like, I think Jaden said the line of, solve a Klingon problem with a Klingon solution. And I think that that's a thing that the Federation is just continuing to learn, solving things not through their own lens anymore, but solving things through the lens of others. And that's a different thing than what we've seen in the past, right? Like, in the past, it's been, well, join the Federation. They know the way, conform to their ways, or like you've seen countless episodes of, well, that's just not how the Federation works, or whatever. And this is kind of almost redefining that just subtly as we see their different interactions with all these different races. Hi, Chamomile. And you guys can't see, but there was a little paw just on my arm for a moment. But anyway, like, I think like that was, a really good and defining moment. I saw in chat going back and forth about whether or not this was a good thing in terms of, did the Klingons feel pride or honor through that? Did it accomplish that goal? We have to remember, we're seeing things knowing all of the backstory, right? The rest of them don't know that this secret meeting took place, right? And to like the comment about, like, they have sensors they can see, like, the Federation didn't need to necessarily surrender, But I think like it is noted that they made a point to show us that the Federation were definitely outnumbered. Just because their shields were holding doesn't mean that they could have actually done a fight. So logically, the Federation would actually withdraw and would actually surrender. Would this have been a real battle? And Klingons definitely looked like they were holding their punches back, as someone else said in chat. But it definitely felt like it filled both of those sides. You know, like there didn't have to be bloodshed. And then somebody else mentioned, and I thought that this was really good. Klingons are very big on their symbols, very big on their history and their stories. I mean, Kalis is literally just a symbol, and so I think that part was also like very well crafted in that. I know we're not talking about Obel specifically right now, but when I was watching it, my other half made a comment of, you know, does that mean he's like the new Kalis in a way? You know, bringing them to their new Klingon home world? We don't know. So that's an interesting piece there. So I think it kind of settled all sides in a weird way, and I'm happy with it. I didn't think I'd be happy with it, but like thinking about it, the more I think about it, the more it makes sense for all sides involved the way that it was solved, even if I might have seen it coming.
I'm not convinced that the Klingons were pulling their punches. Right.
Shade. Shade.
Their shields were at 95%.
So I have a reason for that, right? So what?
Their shields, the Athena's shields remained at 95% at the end of battle.
So let's not forget what Admiral said to Beta Z, right, as a part of the negotiations. Your technology is woefully out of date and is less than a decade from being completely inadequate. Okay. Anyone not a part of the Federation probably has another similar problem, that their weapons and their defenses and their technology is woefully out of date. And so, like, they could have sold that, like, they could have added this, again, very, very small detail, very, very small critique. They could have used an old beam out animation to sell that point for the Klingons, right? They're using older transporters. They're not using the instantaneously boom and they're there transporters when he came and visited Earth. But they didn't, and that's okay. My point is that they've played up that the Federation is technologically superior to everyone else in this timeline, and that the Klingons could have been trying their heart out, and that all they could do was sap off 5% of the shields of the Federation ships.
You know, that actually brings up another question that I did not have prepared. But why is the Federation so technologically advanced post-burn as compared to Beta Z, as compared to the Klingons? Now, the Klingons at this point are nomadic, right? They've lost Kronos. The Doctor described this as the Klingon diaspora, which I had to Google what that word even meant. But yeah, they were nomads at this point for years and years. Post burn, they've been scattered across the galaxy. Why?
Chala nailed it.
Chala nailed it. Discovery did it. Discovery was an 800-year-old ship.
Not the AI on board.
Okay. So it was the AI. Berlin says the Discovery could jump, but they still, I mean, it was still 800-year-old technology, and they're not using jump
the
now.
Technology, but the AI helped guide the retrofits, guide all of the, and they also they isolated themselves, and instead of other societies that could not sustain themselves and sustain their technology and sustain their research, and the Federation, remember, they were not ravaged by all of the scavengers that rose up, right? They were cloaked away behind their shield, protected from the outside. Yeah, they couldn't warp around because of the burn, but they were still building their technology, and they were completely unaffected by what was going on in the rest of the universe. They became isolationist and allowed their technology to continue to develop. Like, the Betazoids could have done that, but they always felt the technology was not them. They felt that in their innate abilities were the better part of them. They technology was something that they adapted to because of the Federation. So other species, other worlds, like, they were being ravaged by these scavenger races and these scavenger alliances and these guilds. That's the problem. And then when Discovery came and boosted their knowledge with this super advanced AI that at the end of Discovery has to get shipped off into the netherworlds, into the future, right? That's what gave that and their isolationist research that has happened for these hundreds of years is what gave the Federation the technological advances.
Okay. Couple of more questions as we get ready to wrap up here, and this again is coming from a devil's advocate position. Beck, I'm going to ask you.
Wrap up.
I mean, we're already over an hour, which is crazy, isn't it? We have so much
Beck's
fun
got like
on these
12
things.
more points she wants to bring up. All right, let's do some rapid fire points, DJ.
Oh no!
What do you want to talk about, Beck?
Beck has
Hit
notes.
me rapid fire.
Beck
Wait,
has
actually,
notes.
I think we've gone through almost all of the things that I wrote down.
Powerful
one
moments.
thing that we didn't actually chat about is that the ship, the Athena, has been in space for 3 days at this point. And whereas previously it was not in space, so we don't know how long they remained on the planet before going out. We don't know how much time has really passed. So I thought that was interesting. Seeing the saucer come out was cool. It's got a little saucer, kind of looks
Saucer
like a
can
little
warp. That's
yeah,
cool.
the saucer can warp. It's like a little mini Defiant, little smooth Defiant, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was cool to see. We did
no,
hear, we heard Ake mention at the very beginning that this was their first mission in space to observe this nebula. So, yeah, we don't know how much time. I would imagine that, it feels like it's still first semester, right? It feels like it's still, beginning of these kids' journey here, so to speak. I don't think
midterms are going to be rough.
Yeah, like we're still in our first 6 weeks here, first 6 to 9 weeks. Six or 7
you say
weeks.
that, DJ. We're 40% of the way through the season.
Which makes me sad, actually. Which makes me very, very sad.
I know.
So let me ask this question: devil's advocate position here, Bubba. And I'm going to circle back to a sentiment here a minute ago that I shared. I felt like kinda that the Federation was the bad guy in this episode. Not the bad guy, but just like the one with the more underhanded techniques. Is the Federation in post-burn society to the entire rest of the galaxy? We've seen Beta Z now with a personal interaction. Now we've seen the Klingons with a personal interaction. Is the Federation still the good guy, or are they just the strongest kids on the block? Bubba, you go. Oops, wrong button. There we go. Are they the good guy? Or is this the beginning of the Star Trek version of the evil galactic imperial empire?
Why does there have to be a good guy, DJ?
Why does there have to be a good guy?
Morals so binary.
Why does there have to be a good guy? There's always a good guy and a bad guy. I mean,
well, you keep talking about who's the big bad of the season. It's like there doesn't need to be a big bad.
There's gotta be a bad
great
guy.
Storytelling.
Every story has to have a bad guy, and I still think it's going to be Caleb's mom. I haven't deviated from that. I think the more that we see Caleb become more family with his classmates and with his instructors, and the more that he becomes rooted here at Starfleet Academy, the more painstakingly, excruciatingly painful it is going to be when he finds his mom and his mom tries to rip him away from Starfleet Academy, which is going to happen. You just mark my words.
Yeah, so it's clear that the Federation is technologically superior. Okay, that's not arguable in my opinion. I'm waiting for the episode where we deal with someone like the Shellyak or something from TNG, where they were also technologically superior isolationists and were not affected by the burn. Right? That I'm waiting for us to find the people that are more technologically superior to the Federation, if that's even going to be something they want to introduce in this episode or this series. But we've seen the Federation operate in the gray for its entire existence. The entire existence. So I think that I don't think of things as binary. I think everything is, you can look at this. So like if your average Klingon knew that this was a setup and an act, right, to get them to go where they needed to go, do you think they'd be happy?
No.
Was this good or bad for the Klingons?
The end result was fine. They got the planet, but they were tricked into taking it.
So why does there have to be binary? Why isn't everything, like everything in life, a matter of perspective?
they got a new planet. It's a win-win. That chat, okay. All
No,
right.
it's right, but your average Klingon would be like, "What do you mean you set us up? What do you mean this was all just a? What do you mean that they didn't like they your average Klingon would be like, we don't want a fake fight. We want to fight for it. We want there to be blood. We need to blood wide. Like that's what your average Klingon is hoping for. As to what they played it up to
for a sound alert.
From their perspective, they might think that this was not a good outcome, right? Even though they got the planet they needed and they got what they needed. I don't think everything is black and white. Like you're saying that are they the good guys? Are they the bad guys? Like they are the Federation, right? Depending on whose perspective you look at is going to determine whether you think this was good for somebody or bad for somebody. And I don't think that, anybody is morally perfect and nobody is morally evil. It's like saying the Borg were villains. The Borg were neutral. They were not villains. They had one mind. They were a for the most part, a mindless entity of technological advancement, right? They're not evil. Now, they're wiping out civilizations as they go. That may appear evil. The civilizations that are being wiped out might think this is evil, but they were not evil, right? So, sorry if I'm yelling back. I think that to say somebody is good or evil is underselling the depth of the story that we're getting in Star Trek.
Okay, fair enough. Let's hit our rapid fire questions for the panel as we get ready to wrap up here tonight. I've got a couple of lightning round prompts for
42
Beck and Bubba. And the first one is going to be, and I promise it's the last time I'm going to bring this up. Beck, Federation help. Is it a gift or is it a threat?
Yes.
Listen, again, don't want to keep beating this horse. We've seen the Klingons, we've seen Beta Z. How many more species are we going to see the Federation have their way with, Bubba? Is the Federation help? Is it a gift or a threat?
What does the Federation get from the Klingons being on a new, safe, stable homeworld?
We saved you. That is 100%
the Klingons
what it's going to be.
Not going to. They don't know. They did not get saved by the Federation. That's not a card they can play. They lost. They surrendered. They don't get to come back and say, "We saved you." No, that's not what happened. You lost the battle. They don't get to use this. This does not benefit the Federation in any way other than them being able to say to themselves, "We've helped the Klingons help themselves and not die off as a race."
Okay. Bubba, best Jaden moment of this episode.
The one with Thock.
Okay, Beck?
I'm inclined to agree.
All right. Beck, is this the most Trek episode so far?
No.
No?
Most Trek episode? I mean, out of the ones that we've seen so far?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Episode 1.
But it was a great episde.
Episode
but for
1 was
me,
more Trek?
on the Trek scale, like for me, this was definitely, like I said, I know this is rapid fire, but I've traditionally not liked Klingons. There's never been a lot of, actually, for the reason that we kind of got on this little bit of a tangent, because a lot of times Klingons see things as black and white. And I don't love that thought. And I think especially here we're seeing on the Federation side, in general, there is no black and white anymore. It's all gray area. It's all new territory. So with this episode, really great episode, was it the most Trek of all the ones we've seen so far? I don't think so, but it was a great episode.
Bubba?
Beck is channeling her inner Kirk. I've never trusted Klingons, and I never will.
And I never will.
I could never forgive them for the death of my boy.
Great line.
All right, so what was the question? I'm sorry, I had to make that joke.
Was this the most Trek episode so far?
No, episode 1.
Okay.
The pilot was the most Trek episode.
All right.
Sure, in my opinion.
Last one. Debate class with the doctor or holodeck training? Pick one.
What do you mean holodeck training?
Like the Calico with Laura Thock and
Calico.
and Reno.
Calico.
Okay.
I mean, debate training was fine. I love the Doctor. The Doctor is a fantastic character. I love seeing him in every episode. Anytime he's there, he chews up the screen. It's fantastic. But Calica's more entertaining. Like, it's debate club. Like, and I like debate, but it's Calica.
Okay, Beck.
Yeah, I think I have to agree. I love them both. I think they're both. I think, as we're watching them, we're seeing them as fun moments. But also, these are different ways to learn the real life skills that they need to be in the Federation. Like, as cadets, as they grow and they rank up, these are skills that they need, right? Calico simulates a lot of battle. Debate simulates a lot how they're going to be dealing with other races, other cultures, and things like that. So they're bringing different things to the table. As a former debate kid, loved that side of it. I wish I could have seen a little bit more of it, actually, to nerd out with y'all. But Calico was a little bit more entertaining for me.
All right. Fantastic. Well, that is our wrap on episode 4. This episode was called Vox in Excelso. And this does mark, we're just 1 week away from being halfway through with the first season of Starfleet Academy. Bubba, as we get ready to wrap up here, last question for you is, what comes next? We've had 4. It's interesting because Kurtzman said at the very beginning that this was not going to be episodic. I feel like it has been up to this point, with the only arc being that they're in college. What comes next for Starfleet Academy as we approach episode 5?
So when you say episodic, what do you think that means?
Well, story of the week. Story of the week. I mean, very much like TNG was, very much like TOS was. You didn't need to watch last week to understand this week. I feel that serialistic or arc spanning is an entire season like we saw with Discovery. Okay. Episodic would be more like we saw with Strange New Worlds or TNG. More serialistic would be like Deep Space Nine, for example. So.
What piece of knowledge did you need to have that came in episodes 1, 2, and 3 that you had to have to make this episode good that you didn't get from this episode?
Jaden likes to watch birds. But you also could have got that from this episode, technically.
Right. Correct.
So Kurtzman described the series as being an arc-long serialistic series, but it feels very standalone episode right now. Where does it need to go for you as we approach episode 5? Is this style working for you?
I thought you were saying that these were going to be episodic. I thought that's what. I think there's some confusion on what he said versus what you think he said. These definitely are standalone. They pack all of the story that you need to know into the episode. The serialized portion of this is the evolution of the relationships, right? It's the evolution of the relationships between one episode and the next, right? And I think that's going to be the first season, right? Developing these relationships. Maybe we only get 1, maybe we get 2, but I whether it is serialized or episodic, I don't care. I think these are fantastic. The show has just done a great job. And to be honest, the thing I'm most looking forward to is one of the writers' next episode.
Yes, which is?
DJ?
What?
Which is?
I didn't write it down, but I remember us talking about it. No, don't. Yeah, William T. Riker is directing the next one. Jonathan Frakes is directing the next one, isn't it? Who is it?
Jonathan Frakes directs episode 8.
Episode 8. Who's on number 5 then? Oh, yes, Tawny Newsome. Tawny Newsome is directing an episode.
Yes.
So it should be really funny. Is that what we're hoping for?
I don't know if it's going to be funny, but I can't wait to see what she brings to a writer's room and her take on what she has experienced in Star Trek.
Okay. Beck, what are you looking forward to most out of episode 5 and the remainder of the season? We're 4 episodes in. We've gotten a lot of character development. Is this good enough for an entire season, or do we need to see something more?
Sorry, I was about to respond in chat. I do want to call it real quick. Danny, just because I'll respond right here. No, you would not put your kids in charge of signing off on a car or buying a house. You're not going to put freshmen in charge of debates and treaties. The point of these are giving the tools and the skills to learn for the future. I mean, they're in their freshman year. They got years ahead of them. So it's not like they're learning this now and we're going to send them off to go give a peace treaty somewhere. So I was going to write that in chat because I understand where you're coming from, but the skills and things. But back
and
to
if
here.
if you don't think Ake had this idea, right? The way that she knew the Klingons, the way she knew this specific Klingon who is their leader, if you think she didn't have this idea from the start and wanted to watch Jaden get there, then I think you're fooling yourself. Everything she has done has been practical examples and lessons for the kids. She wanted to help Jaden get there. Obviously, this is a solution that she had already thought of and had brought to the Admiral and was waiting for Jaden to get there for them to implement. I believe that fully.
You know, I can see that. I wouldn't have said that 10 minutes ago, but I can absolutely see that just given her tenure in Starfleet, her 800 years of life or 400 years of life or whatever it is.
Destros might be correct. She may have needed to sober up before she could implement. That is entirely possible.
But we have seen in the other episodes, there's always been a lesson there. And that's what brings us back to Starfleet Academy. That's what brings us back to this kind of college feel, the forming of cadets into officers, is that everything is a teachable moment. We even had that quotable line from the bridge officer in the first episode. This is a teachable moment. So yeah, I wouldn't have gotten there on my own, Bubba, but I can definitely see that Ake had this up her sleeve the entire time, or at least since her crazy night with Dear Obel. So back
Crazy night.
Yeah, just
her old boyfriend.
Crazy night. What are you looking forward to most next week, Beck?
Next week, I don't know anything about what's coming, but I feel like it's time to give a little bit of shine to Sam. We haven't seen anything really of Sam's background. I feel like next week is the right opportune moment, especially because Sam's character, every time we see her, there's a lot of humor there. So it kind of feels like Tawny would do something really fun with this. So I'm looking forward to see if that prediction is correct.
You know, I wish we had talked about Sam more tonight. Her best contribution to this particular episode was, "Hi, Caleb," and boom, elimination. You know, like that was her moment. Well, guys,
she won her round in the official debate. She won her round and then high-fived her opponent.
Yeah. Wait, did she? No.
She's just happy to be here.
Yes,
she got eliminated.
She did.
That's right, she did.
Were you watching the same episode as I was, DJ?
I remember now. I remember. Okay, guys.
You've been booted off the panel.
I'm gonna go to bed. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Thank you to our panelists, Bubba Joe, Beck Likes Plants. Thank you so much for being here on your Thursday night, carving out time for Starfleet Academy, episode 4. We'll be back with you next week for episode number 5 with a special guest panelist next week. And we'll continue on with our review and breaking down of these episodes throughout the entire season. My name is UltimatDJz. For all of us here at Talking Trek, thank you for being a part of our live studio audience and being here for Starfleet Academy. Good night, everybody.